In today's video, we're going to be learning how to play Uno Flex. It's a bit more complex than regular Uno and other Uno variants, so it does take some getting used to, but I hope this video can help you get a basic idea of how to play. To start, everybody gets a power card, which is this double-sided card with a green checkmark side and a red X'd out side. Every player will get one of these cards, so distribute these out to every player first. Every player will put this card to the side of them. We'll come back to this later in the video. Then, shuffle the deck and deal 7 cards to every player. The rest of the cards go face down in the center of the table. This becomes your draw pile, and then you create a discard pile by flipping up the top card. If the top card is an action card, like a skip or reverse, or many of the action cards we'll go over later in this video, keep flipping up cards until you get a number card. Then, the person to the left of the dealer begins the game. When you're playing the game by yourself, your power card will be next to you and not in the middle right here. But for this video, I'm going to have the power card here for when we need the example. I'll flip the power card whenever we use it. We'll get back to this later in the video, but let's first go over the basic cards. The goal of the game is to get rid of all of the cards in your hand before every other player. You may play a card onto the discard pile if it either matches in color, in symbol, or both. In this case, these two match in color, so I can play this one onto the discard pile. Then it would be the next player's turn. If you do not have a card that matches, you must draw a card. If that card can play, you can play it onto the discard pile. If it cannot play, you keep it in your hand and you lose your turn. You may also choose to draw a card even if you can play something from your hand. First, let's go over the regular number cards, such as 5 and 1. These are just basic number cards. They have no other actions other than being green and having a number on them. But you'll notice that some of these number cards have a tiny little flip symbol on them. We'll come back to that shortly. Let's first go over the action cards that appear in pretty much every Uno game. First up is the reverse. The reverse changes the order of play. Say that the order of play would have this person to the left of me go next, instead the person to the right of me would go next. Next is a regular skip card. If this player would have gone next, they lose their turn and it skips to the next player. They do not have to draw any cards or do any other actions, they just lose their turn. There is also the draw 2 card. When this card is played, the next player has to draw 2 cards and loses their turn. In regular Uno, there are also basic wild cards, and there are wild cards in this game, but they're a lot different. One of these different wild cards is the wild all flip card. When this wild card is played, the player who plays the wild card can change the color on the discard pile. Say that it was green before, I change it to red instead. Then every single player would flip their power card. If it's on the green side, you would flip it to the red side, and if it's on the red side, you flip it to the green side. Let's now talk about the many flex cards in this game. When your power card is on the green side, if you have a card in your hand that you can flex, you flip your power card to the red side, and then play the different alternate version of your flexed card. Flexing your cards gives the card a different but more powerful effect, or it can help you in a given situation. If your power card is on the red side, you cannot flex any of your cards, and you must get it flipped back to the green side before you flex another card. We'll talk about how to flip this back over shortly. Let's first talk about the flexible numbers. This number is a yellow 5. That's because the majority of this card is yellow, and of course the symbol is a 5. That does not match this blue reverse in either way, so I cannot play this onto the pile. But you might notice that some of the card is blue. That means I can flex this card to turn it into a blue 5. So if I want to play this as a blue 5 onto the discard pile, if my power card is on the green side, I flip it to the red side and play this as a blue 5 on the discard pile. There are many number cards that let you do this, but most importantly, know that the majority color is the actual color of the card, so this is a red 2, but the minority color here is what you could flex it to. I could flex this from a red 2 to a blue 2 if I need to play on the blue pile instead of the red pile. The same goes for this 7 and for this 8. Let's now go over the many action cards that can be flexed. The action cards that can be flexed have this noticeably different look to them. You'll notice that they have this stripe pattern on the outside and a different symbol in the corner. If you'd like to play this alternate effect, you flex your power card and then play this card to do the alternate effect. First up is the flex draw 2 card. If you play it regularly, it is just a draw 2 card. The next player has to draw 2 cards and they lose their turn. If you'd like to flex this card, you flip your power card from the green to the red side, and this makes everybody draw 1 card instead. The one downside to this is that the next player would not lose their turn in this case, but you would give everybody a card instead of just one person 2 cards. Next up is the flex skip card. If you just play this without flexing it, it's just a regular skip. The next person loses their turn and it goes to the person after them. If you flex this card, it changes to a skip everyone card, noted by this symbol. If I were to flex this skip, it would skip everyone else's turn and allow me to play another card immediately. Say this 8. Next up is flex reverse. If you do not flex this card, the next player would not get to play and it would reverse order of play to the person on their right. That person would now go next and their order of play is flipped. If you do flex this card, it becomes a reverse skip. First, the order of play is reversed, so instead of going to the player to my left, then it would go to the player to my right. and then it would skip the player to my right's turn and have the next person play after that. Instead of the player I reverse to immediately being able to play again, they lose their turn and it skips to the next person. And lastly, there are 3 wild flex cards. Let's go over all of them. First up is the wild targeted draw 2 card. If you do not flex this card, it just acts as a wild. You choose the new color on the discard pile, say I change this from blue to red, and then the next player plays as normal, with the discard pile now being red instead of blue. If I do flex this card, I also get to change the color on the discard pile, say from green to yellow, but I also get to choose a player to draw 2 cards, say the person across from me. They would now have to draw 2 cards. They would not lose their turn, of course, but they would be forced to draw 2 cards, and then the next player resumes play as normal. Next is the wild all draw 2 card. If you play this without flexing it, it acts as a normal wild card, and I just change the color on the discard pile, say from green to red. If I do flex this card, it forces every other player to draw 2 cards. Then play resumes as normal. The next player would once again, just like the draw 2 flex card, would not lose their turn. And last of these wild cards is the wild flex to draw 4 card. If this card is not flexed, you change the color on the discard pile, and then the next player draws 4 cards. They also lose their turn. If you do flex this card, you get to choose who draws 4 cards. Just like before, it's a targeted wild draw 4. Say I wanted the person to the right of me to draw 4 cards, I would make them draw 4 cards instead. Then whoever is the next player resumes play as normal. So now we've gone over all of the flexible action cards, but let's talk more about the power card. Most importantly, if you use your flex card, you probably want to know how to get back to the green side so you can flex more of your cards. There are 3 distinct ways to flip your card back over. We already went over one of these with the wild all flip card. This flips everybody's power card from either green to red or red to green. Basically, you flip your power card over to the side that it wasn't on before. The second way to flip your power card back over is with one of these number cards with this little flip symbol on them. I'll let you get a closer look. This flip symbol allows you to flip your power card over. If it's on the green side, it flips to the red side, and if it's on the red side, it flips to the green side. And the last way to get your power card flipped back over is actually if everybody's power card is on the red side. If everyone's power card is on the red side, everyone flips their power card back to the green side. You don't have to play any other cards. As long as everybody's power card is on the red side, they all flip back to the green. If you have exactly 1 card in your hand, you must yell Uno. If you don't and another player catches you, you have to draw 2 cards. And that's how you play Uno Flex. Thanks for watching, and if this video helped, consider subscribing. See you all in the next video.